Live from Waterford and the Virgin Media Broadband Studio in Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Eimear McKeown. Today's top stories. The president of Waterford IT says the Technological University for the South East has to happen within the next 6 to 12 months. Last minute Brexit talks between Leo Varadkar and Boris Johnson are underway in the UK. It's hoped that work will start before the end of the year on the refurbishment of the former Waterford Crystal site. And in sport, new Waterford boss Liam Cahill will face his native county Tipperary on the opening weekend of next year's Munster Senior Hurling Championship. The president of Waterford IT says the Technological University for the South East has to happen within the next 6 to 12 months. The application from WIT and IT Carlow still hasn't been submitted after a memorandum of understanding between both ITs was rejected by the unions in Carlow. Professor Willie Donnelly says Waterford is ready to go. He told Damien Tiernan on Daisha Today that they don't want a half-baked university that can't compete.
Companies that come here are looking at a university and are looking at a knowledge pool that has to compete with Singapore, Beijing, Paris. So my focus is on delivering a university of international standing. What I will say to your listeners is we're not going to wait too long because our people cannot wait. They're ready to go.
It's hoped that work will start before the end of the year on the refurbishment of the former Waterford Crystal site in Kilbarry. The old offices and showrooms will be given a facelift and extended to create enough office space for 700 employees. Noel Frisbee's company Ibrook Limited received planning permission for the development this week. Fine Gael councillor John Cummins says it's very positive news.
We all know that this site has been subject to a significant amount of vandalism over the last number of months, and it has been a blot on the landscape of the area. So the news that planning has been granted for a significant upgrade of the former Waterford Crystal offices and showrooms can only be positive.
Last-minute Brexit talks between Leo Varadkar and Boris Johnson are underway in the UK. The two leaders are meeting after a week in which the chances of a deal appear to have faded. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe reports.
The location for the meeting between Leo Varadkar and Boris Johnson was kept tightly under wraps until this afternoon when they arrived at Thornton Manor in Merseyside around an hour outside Liverpool. It's a luxury wedding venue and has held some big occasions before, including the 21st birthday of Colleen Rooney. And it might take a sting operation the scale and complexity of Colleen Rooney's this week to see any progress on Brexit out of this meeting. Huge gaps remain between Boris Johnson and the EU's position. Some have questioned why the Taoiseach is even bothering to go, given the EU task force does the bulk of the negotiations. And this may well be the last chance for Leo Varadkar to hash out something with Boris Johnson. The gaps that remain are on customs and the so-called Stormont lock on any backstop deal for Northern Ireland. It would take a pretty significant move by either side to see progress on either of those today. The meeting could run as long as 2 hours, or there might be very little to say. Sean Defoe, Leinster House.
A demonstration will take place in support of a County Waterford hotel later today. The Haven Hotel in Dunmore East has applied to retain a marquee on its front lawn, but was refused permission by the local authority. Waterford Council ruled that the 330 square metre marquee had a negative visual impact on the protected hotel building, as well as being a noise disturbance to neighbours. The hotel's owners are now due to apply for a revised planning permission. The Save the Haven group are staging the protest outside this evening's plenary meeting at City Hall, demanding that the council's decision be overturned. These people in Dunmore East say they support the hotel.
Maybe it's not pretty, but I think just let them get on with it. The noise stops at 11 or 12, right? No different than any other pub around here. I fully support them. They should be supported and the marquee should stay.
Everybody at some stage has either been to an event there or thrown an event there themselves, so it is part of the community. So no, we all like it.
I just thought it was a bad idea objecting to it. So there was a petition in one of the pubs there, and somebody signed it. Yeah.
I'm Joan Boland from the Lemon Tree restaurant in Dunmore East. The Haven Hotel are running a very well-run establishment, in particular weddings, and those weddings certainly bring a lot of business to the village. There's a big knock-on effect for business coming our way.
Joe Biden has for the first time called for Donald Trump to be impeached. The former US Vice President says the current president has already convicted himself. The impeachment inquiry is over claims that Mr. Trump illegally pressured Ukraine's leader to investigate Mr. Biden and his son. Mr. Biden, who is one of the Democratic frontrunners in the 2020 presidential race, made this forceful statement in New Hampshire.
Donald Trump has violated his oath of office, betrayed this nation, and committed impeachable acts. He should be impeached. We all laughed when he said he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and get away with it. It's no joke. He's shooting holes in the Constitution, and we cannot let him get away with it.
Waterford Senator Paddy Coffey is welcoming the allocation in the budget for palliative care services. €10 million is being set aside in Budget 2020. It's for 55 new hospice beds, 20 of which are at the new South East Palliative Care Centre in Waterford. The remaining beds are in Kildare, Mayo and Wicklow. The Fine Gael Senator says the public who fundraised €6 million need to be thanked.
Where a provision of over €4.8 million is being allocated for a fully staffed unit led by the consultant specialist Dr. Brian Creedon, which will mean a 20-bed regional hospice for the very first time to service the South East region and based at University Hospital Waterford. In saying this, I want to acknowledge the significant contribution of the Waterford Hospice movement and indeed the support of the general public, where they made a contribution of over €6 million towards the new unit in a building that cost almost €36 million in total.
685 children around the country have been waiting at least a year for an assessment with a speech and language therapist. According to new HSE figures, 247 of these have been on the list for more than 2 years. Cork, Kerry, Dublin, Kildare and Wicklow are among the worst hit areas. In Waterford, of the 171 children waiting for an assessment, just 24 had to wait longer than 4 months to be seen. Saoirse Brady from the Children's Rights Alliance says vulnerable children are being left untreated at a crucial stage.
It's worrying and concerning in terms of those children's development. We know that if there is a speech and language issue that's picked up early, before a child is 5, and that they're given treatment, then actually they may not have long-term effects from it. So it's crucial that we actually ensure that they get an initial assessment and get any further treatment as quickly as possible.
Waterford Council says it's received reports of a man claiming to be one of its dog wardens. The local authority says the man in a van with partial registration 09KK attempted to take dogs from members of the public. The man was challenged and did not produce ID. Waterford Council says its wardens do not seize dogs on the spot, will always produce ID when asked, and its vans all have council branding. It's asking people to contact Gardaí if they come across this individual. A new festival of creativity runs in Waterford's Cultural Quarter tomorrow. Create Fest will primarily be held at Garter Lane Arts Centre from 9am to 5pm, but there will be other fringe events besides. Some of the speakers on the day include Mark Graham of King Kong Company and A Year of Festivals in Ireland, and Jennifer O'Connell of the Irish Times, who will host a panel discussion. Coordinator Emma Harron was on the Big Breakfast Blah, where she also gives details of the keynote speakers.
It examines creativity and its role in the community, but in industry and in education as well. From every aspect, we have such, I suppose, a varied lineup tomorrow. Our keynote speaker is Toby Scott. He originally started his career in theatre. He went on to TV and radio. He then went on to be Director of Arts for the government in the UK, and he now advises them on innovation.
WLR Sport.
Very good afternoon, I'm Gavin. Whelan rugby first, and Robbie Henshaw's back in the Ireland team for Saturday's World Cup match against Samoa. The Leinster centre, who joins Bundy Aki in midfield, had missed all 3 of the previous games at the tournament due to a hamstring injury. Johnny Sexton is fit to start at fly half, while Jordan Larmour replaces Rob Kearney at full back. Tadhg Byrne keeps his place in the back row. Head coach Joe Schmidt has been explaining why the Munster forward has been retained.
Thought he carried well against Russia, albeit the ball was more and more through the game a bar of soap, so it made it very difficult. I think his ability to put pressure on the ball on the ground, his line-out work has been good. He gives us a little bit more height in the line-out, probably not quite the speed that Pete has in getting up in the line-out. I think defensively he gets off the line well, and he's trained really well.
Ireland must win with a bonus point to guarantee their place in the quarter-finals. Meanwhile, Scotland are adamant contingency plans must be put in place for their game with Japan to go ahead. Sunday's game is in doubt due to a super typhoon which has already caused England against France and New Zealand versus Italy to be called off. If Scotland's match is not played, Japan would advance to the quarter-finals ahead of them. In a statement they added they would be flexible to accommodate a rearranged fixture. Munster head coach Johan van Graan meanwhile has made 5 changes for their game against the Cheetahs over the weekend. Nick McCarthy and Tyler Blindall form a new-look half-back pairing with Jeremy Lockman, Reece Marshall and Billy Holland brought in to the pack. Waterford's Jack O'Donoghue maintains his place in the starting 15. Soccer next. Republic of Ireland defender Shane Duffy says he would have been heartbroken if he'd been forced to miss the upcoming Euro 2020 qualifiers against Georgia and Switzerland. The Brighton centre-half has shaken off a calf injury and joined up with the squad this morning ahead of them jetting out to Georgia later today. Duffy says he was determined to recover in time for the match in Tbilisi.
I would have been heartbroken really if I didn't get it there, but I've done everything I could. Club helped me, Ireland were great with me, manager's been great, gave me a little bit more time to get ready, so we're all excited for it. It's a huge game and one hopefully we can take advantage of.
The Republic of Ireland under-21s host Italy in the European Championships qualifying this evening. Stephen Kenny's side sit top of Group A in that one, having won their first 3 games. Waterford's Leo O'Connor set to captain the side there, while Jason Malumphy is also part of the Ireland side. Kick-off at the Tallaght Stadium is at 8:05. Next to news of Gaelic Games and the Munster Hurling Championship in 2020. We'll see Waterford take on Tipperary in the opening game of the season. It'll be a home game for the Daisha in Welsh Park, where Liam Cahill will begin his life as senior manager up against his former teammate Liam Sheedy. Sheedy was recently speaking at the business breakfast in Waterford. He knows Cahill from their productive playing days with Tipperary.
Very, very straight guy, very sound guy. Very steeped in hurling. Married to Lynn Gaynor's daughter. So look, there's G everywhere you turn with Liam Cahill, and as I said, I've been in his company socially. We've shared a dressing room together, and obviously we worked very closely together last year. So top class guy.
Defending champions Limerick open at home to Cork last year's Joe McDonagh. Winners Lee shows Galway on the first weekend in Leinster before Eddie Brennan takes his O'Moore's side to face Kilkenny in round 2. Holders Wexford are idle on the first weekend before welcoming Dublin to Welsh Park on the second weekend. Ballygunner will have 6 in a row in their sights when they do battle with De La Salle, Welsh Park in Sunday's County Senior Hurling Championship final. The defending champions are unbeaten in their last 32 matches in Waterford. Gunners boss Darragh Sullivan says they are still hungry for more silverware.
Listen, Tomas, that drive comes from the lads, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, it's phenomenal, really. You know how eager and how the appetite is still there after winning so many. But listen, we take every year as it comes. You know what I mean? We start to the beginning of the year and it's about winning that year's championship. You know what I mean? But the lads are great guys. You know what I mean? The drive regards hunger and that really comes from them, Tomas, to be honest with you.
Throw-in Sunday is at 3 p.m. in Welsh Park. WLR will broadcast the game live thanks to George Corbett-Skoda with commentary team Kieran O'Connor and Shane Ahern. And just a reminder to fans that they can pre-purchase their tickets in Welsh Park up until tomorrow, Friday, between 9:30am and 12:30pm and 2pm to 4:30pm to avail of a discount before Sunday's decider. And in racing, today's action comes from Thurles, the first at the tip track, underway shortly at 2:05. That's the latest on WLR. Our next bulletin is at 2.